Okay, so today I want to explore the breath and its relationship to movement and dance and our attention around these creative spaces. And already we have had a connection through the felt sense, through how our attention is drawn. And just like that, when we start to center the breath, our attention is then drawn to how it's already moving us, how it's already a part of our experience. The breath has a rhythm, it has a scale. It will be used throughout the different exercises that we've done so far. But to start, I actually want us to connect to something that I've been working on myself. So this spring, I made a performance with Leah Schåman, a performance for babies, and it really centered the breath as a sort of initiation place, or activity maybe, especially since the people that we were performing for were under the age of 18 months. So many of them maybe or weren't walking yet. They perhaps wouldn't use their eyes as in the same way as we do. Their attention is slightly different, and in a way we can't fully know what their experience is, yet breathing is something that we can sort of share. So we use that as a sort of starting place. And we borrowed exercises from an amazing choreographer who works in Stockholm now, but is from Australia, called Leah, Landau. And we'll just be borrowing a little bit of what we've seen from her, and also obviously I'll be borrowing from Lisa. But in general, I want us to connect to how we can use the breath as an initiation place. And what was really important in this dance with the very young was to perhaps consider the larger aspects or the larger conditions maybe, or things that occur from attending a sort of experiential creative space. So with focusing on the breath, we included sound, and that was a huge shift, of course, because normally there's a strong focus on movement. However, in this, the movement of the breath sort of can create different sounds, different noises. And for the very young, there seems to be no division yet between visual stimuli and audible stimuli. So it made a lot of sense to sort of allow that to be a sort of a creative condition that we sort of work within, not making and working through those divided sensorial ideas or conceptualizations of our experience, but to allow it to be a little bit more fluid as much as possible. Obviously, we're only human and we conceptualize all the time. But I'd like to invite us into that as well. So I'm going to ask us to focus on the breath, and in doing so on the sounds maybe that the breath makes, and put movement as a sort of secondary condition of this play and see how that goes. And I'll lead us in this first exploration, and then after we will pause and look at the breath in different ways. So first, get comfortable. Find somewhere you can relax and breathe easily. And I'd also invite you to close your eyes and start to feel grounded in that position that you're in. And just feel your breath. Let your breath be easy through the nose, out the mouth, or through the mouth, out the mouth, or through the mouth, out the nose. However you wish. Just breathing naturally. Try not to worry too much about how deep the breath is. Notice the movement in the chest. Notice the movement in the stomach, in the belly, maybe in the pelvis. And also bring your awareness to the movement in the rib cage and in the back towards the spine. And you can shift and move as you need. You can adjust. But just keep moving, keep focusing on the breath, allowing that breath to support this attention and this physical place you are. We can imagine our consciousness like a field with the breath sprouting in the field of consciousness. Noticing which aspects of the breath are sort of emerging in that field, what shape, what dynamic, what movement they hold in our attention, in our conscious mind. And just notice the air moving in and out as it moves through our mouth or nose. How the air moves in our throat. And I'd like to invite a gradual expansion, allowing the breath to perhaps sigh, so a sort of allowing the breath to sound a little bit as it comes in and out of our mouth and nose. And all the awareness in our attention that provides. Moving the air perhaps around the mouth, under the tongue. Maybe even moving into a yawn, making a wide, broad space at the back of the mouth, lifting the soft palate. We can also move in that yawn. Just allow the body to be as it needs to be. And as I said at the beginning, you can have your eyes closed or open, however you wish, however you like. and changing the shape of our mouth, creating different flows of air through the teeth, through the lips, moving our tongue, maybe moving our cheeks and our mouth, blowing raspberries with our tongue, can make clicking noises with our mouth as we move it around, slurping, clack our teeth together, kissing noises, and just explore all that space and range of movement with the breath, with the mouth. You can change some of the dynamic, making short, sharp inhales or long, flowing exhales or inhales, and allowing the body to respond dynamically to those different movements. Maybe we're already starting to feel them in the diaphragm, in the body, in the chest, in the belly. Maybe as we move our arms or our legs. Shaking out, releasing, flowing, gentle, extended, held breath, and extended exhales. And can move between different places. You don't have to follow me exactly. This is just prompts to guide this exploration however you need and wish. Breathing through a straw, returning to the nose. Maybe starting to find some humming sounds as we include the vocal cords. Moving maybe now into our feet and our legs with a sort of ooh sound. So sending the vibrations with our voice into our legs and our feet. So with me, take an inhale and we do a U, sort of U. And it can be any tone, it can be high, low, sending down into the legs with that vibration. See if you can experiment there. See if you can find vibrations in the toes, even if it's just in your imagination. Breathing in deep and with an ooh sound. This time, let's try with an O sound, and that we should feel a little bit higher in the stomach and around the back, and maybe in the pelvis and in the diaphragm a little, with a can change tone. And let's move from that U to the O and see the difference between the feet moving up into the stomach. So moving up and down between the two. And go again, try a different tone this time. Feeling those vibrations, playing with the shape of the mouth and the vibration of the breath. Let's move up and we do an A, a sort of R sound, and we hopefully feel that in the chest and down the arms. And if you've noticed I've skipped one placement, we actually should go U-O-E-A. So A, this R sound, we should feel more in the neck, in the throat, and the upper chest. Whereas if we go with an E sound, that we should feel in the chest, in the rib cage, and along the arms, maybe right to the fingers. So let's try with an E, and then we can play between E, A, O, and U, from the feet with the U to the pelvis, and the stomach with the O, and the chest with the E, and then the throat with an A. So let's go. You can put your hands also on the different parts of your body if that helps. Feel the vibrations. And let's play between them all now, moving up and down, going from one to the other. And go again, feeling the different vibrations throughout the body. And again, starting maybe with an R. Now see what has to happen to that R sound to start to vibrate the nose and the top of the head, and perhaps even the skull and the scalp. See what has to happen to perform that. So start with an R. And maybe exactly that's where we need to move to an M sound, where we close the mouth and create an And so you can see how the vibrations move between the different body parts, hopefully, and how the mouth can shape and articulate the different frequencies that we can create with our voice and our breath. So let's try that. So R and M, or M and R. Really good. And of course, at any point you could pause and go a little bit further with this, but I'd like to move on now. And we play with those different breaths, those different sounds, different articulations of the mouth, and the different clicking sounds and sucking sounds and whistling sounds, the different breath sounds we found in the beginning, and start to bring them all together in a little bit of a play. And I'd like you to start to consider how different body positions maybe and different movements can affect your sounds and bodily vocalizations, I should say. So let's try that. All right, hopefully you're finding something interesting, and it's hopefully also this is a moment to recognize this more sort of copying and following type relationship, where I'm doing it with you and you have the opportunity to copy and follow, but with you being in your own space and this being a recording, you also have the possibility to diverge and take what you want and do it in the way you want, or even to pause and completely go into your own exploration. So please recognize that possibility with this workshop, with these workshops actually, and how this what kind of spaces this provides you in your exploration and understanding of your dance. Now I'd like to just introduce a couple more things before we close this lead exploration. I'd like to invite sort of panting, so and you can think of a dog, you can think of that sort of animalistic thing, or sort of more a yogic breath where you use the stomach, pushing it out and in, changing the breath and the sounds that can come from the breath. And perhaps even you can move into laughter and crying, even the very similar responses, but allow them to come if you feel comfortable with that. And maybe to finish, we can sort of find a screaming like sound, sort of like really letting out as much noise as possible. And through all this, one thing we haven't spoken about, which is so important with the breath, is the quiet breath, the silent breath, and see if you can find those as well in this last sort of exploration. So whenever you're ready, join me now in a sort of full exploration of sound and breath, including panting, laughter, perhaps crying, and then a collective scream to sort of end. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too intense or too much. But equally, I hope you took the confidence to just throw yourself in there and go as far or even further than where I went. And maybe even the possibility to pause and continue. But now I would like us to take a moment. I'm going to pause the audio. I'm going to invite you to pause the audio, and I'd like you to just lie down or stay still, sitting, standing, however you need, and just breathe easily and try to feel the exploration, how it sits now in the body, the movements that were caused internally, externally as a part of the breath. Just for, say, 10 minutes, maybe you can set an alarm or something like that and just feel it, or even longer if you feel like you have the time and the energy for that. And then we'll come back and we'll do a few more things looking at the breath. So pause here. Okay, great. So now we have somehow moved through a lot of like sounding and how that can cause movement in the body. Now I'd like us just to stay with the breath, obviously, but maybe we can reflect a little bit on everything we have gone through in the previous 9 workshops. So we started with our attention, our felt sense, and then we moved into space, and then we moved into stillness, and after that we worked on weight, and then we worked on balance, and then rhythm, and then direction, size, and lastly, effort and ease. So whilst you focus on the breath, I'd like you to pick one of those places that we have been, be it the attention, the felt sense of your dance, what is and is not dance, or the space that you're in, or the stillness that we worked with, or the weight, the balance, the rhythm, the direction, the size, the effort, the ease. And pick one and let the breath lead in that exploration. So say you picked rhythm. See how the breath could perhaps encourage an exploration of rhythm. Starting slow, maybe building up, using some of the qualities from the first part of this session. Or maybe you choose size and see how the breath can affect the size that we're working with, be it a sort of micro breath or a macro, large expansive breath maybe, or maybe there are more complexities involved there, or maybe even balance and imbalance. See how the breath plays a role in capturing a stillness, a place of suspension and hold, or how it allows us to release and move, the same as effort and ease. Or perhaps it's a mixture of everything. In a sense, take a moment to enter into an exploration with our breath in movement, in our attention of what is dance or what is our movement through these categories that we've already sort of worked with. Okay, so pause here and enter into your own exploration for a few minutes. Okay, great. Hopefully we have understood a little bit more about the breath, and maybe if not, only the fact that it's good to breathe. It's good to breathe while we move. It's good to breathe while we're exploring. It's good to breathe while we're staying still. And maybe we get a sense at least of the play that can be experienced with breath and how it can lead into some of those other aspects that we have been sort of visiting. That's it for now. This was quite long because of the lead exploration at the beginning, but hopefully that was interesting to sort of give a different flavor, as I said before, of how you can use prompts and different dances and ways dances sort of led and produced or given, including these workshops, and make them your own, essentially. And with that in mind, I'd like to take this moment for a reflection, perhaps take a moment to write down just how some of the thoughts and the ideas connect to your own dancing. to give you again the capacity to give you some shaping around what dance is for you. So we're creating a sort of complex understanding of our knowledge that we're building. I mean, it doesn't mean that what you write now needs to be 100% true or accurate, but that it is an attempt and a practice of shaping our knowledge and understanding around what it is we're doing. Because I know for myself, at least, having danced for 30 years, I still don't fully know what I'm doing. But it's a process, and with that process comes about sort of confidence, awareness. And I was speaking to a friend the other day, and we were speaking a bit about embarrassment. There's something very embarrassing about dancing in our culture in general, but also just the things we do in front of people on stage or at a party or to music or alone with ourselves. When we think of ourselves dancing, there's a quality perhaps of embarrassment around there. And that's funny, right? Because it's also something we recognize as beautiful, elegant, stylish. But it's almost as though perhaps that comes out of going outside of a comfort zone and embracing a place which maybe would have normally been felt as or understood as embarrassing. So the more we know, the less embarrassing maybe, or the more confident we can be about doing these things which are a little bit strange, a little bit weird, maybe a little bit embarrassing. I don't know, that's a little bit of a ramble. Don't quote me. Who knows what I know? I don't. But thank you for listening, and I hope to hear from you. If you wish to drop me a line, I'm sure my details are somewhere around. Take care now. Hi, thanks for listening. If you can support the podcast, please go to paypal.me/dancepeter. I'm just looking for a little bit of funding to help support the cost of the hosting. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you so much.